What is happening in the Toronto real estate market? Well, I'll start off with a positive. July of 2025 experienced the best sales of any July since July of 2021. Hello, everybody. It's Alex Drobin with Remax. I help people just like you buy and sell real estate in Toronto. If you get any value from this video whatsoever, please consider subscribing, liking the video. And if you have any questions, just put them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, so I haven't done one of these market updates in a while, but this report came out and I found a few of these numbers really interesting. So I figured I'd break them down and let you know kind of what I thought about them. One is in the sales side, overall sales, and then one is in the condo market, and it's kind of the percentage shifts in the condo market, which I'll get into near the end of the video. So make sure to stay till the end. Okay, so let's get into the sales numbers first. Toronto home sales went up 10.9% year over year from July of 2024 to July of 2025. That is an insane number, almost 11%. Just for reference, in July of 2024, there were 5,500 sales. In July of 2025, there are 6,100 sales, like I said, in the month of July. A couple of reasons why this is the case. In my opinion, the interest rate situation is a big one because the Bank of Canada chose to hold its policy interest rate for the third consecutive time after cutting it between 24 and 2025 from 5% to 2.75%. So I feel like buyers and sellers are a little bit more certain as to what's happening with those rates. It's not as volatile as it was, even in the last year and a half, 2 years. And people are kind of a little bit more certain with their borrowing power. And number two, just the amount of inventory that was out there. There were a lot of people that were holding their properties on the market for 3, 4 months at a time. And then when sellers started to realize, like, okay, it's not moving at this price, we have to lower the price if we actually want to sell this property and move on to our next property. A lot of people started doing that. So prices started coming down, and that's why we've seen a decrease in average price year over year as well. But I think those are the main two reasons. Interest rates, people are a little bit more certain as to what's happening, and then the amount of inventory that was out there, sellers started to, lowering prices in order to actually sell properties. And then those specific sellers that weren't willing to do that and come down on price are still on the market. There are some properties out there right now that are good properties that should have already sold within the last like 2, 3 months. They're on the market for like 150 days, 175 days, and so on. So those are the main two reasons, in my opinion. And then to follow up on that, the average price of a Toronto home actually came down 5.5% year over year from July of 2024 to July of 2025. So in July of 2024, the average price was 1,113,000. In 2025, it's 1,051,000 in the month of July. And that goes to, it's exactly the same thing that I was saying before. Significantly more inventory for people to choose from. The interest rates have kind of held up. People took their time picking out, the type of spots that they wanted. Significantly less bidding war situations and multiple offer situations on properties. Again, all depending on area. The areas we specialize in still have a ton of bidding war situations and multiple offer situations, but people were able to take a little bit more time and choose from a bunch of inventory that was out there and that was sitting for months at a time. So like I said before, when sellers started realizing, okay, this place has been sitting on the market for 2 months, it's obviously a little bit overpriced, let's bring the price down, those properties ended up selling. And that's why we have a 5.5% decrease in average sale price. New listings came up 5.7% year over year from July of 2024 to July of 2025. Like a lot of people are putting their properties on the market in July, testing out the summer. I've told you guys before, the summer's not really the best time to sell a property, specifically in July and August. But right now, it seems like a lot of people are testing out the market. And another reason for that is because I think people that haven't sold their properties within the last, say 3, 4 months, because they were overpriced, end up relisting in July. And that's why there are more active listings, in my opinion. Sorry, new listings and active listings, in my opinion. Active listings are up 26.2% year over year from July of 2024 to July of 2025. Similar situation there. There are still a lot of sellers out there who are expecting and hoping for a certain price that's going to be very difficult to get in this market. And that's the reason why there are so many properties. Because honestly, like from my experience, I've done almost 25 deals this year already. If a property is priced correctly, if it's marketed properly, it will sell. So, for any seller out there right now, you have to be a little bit more realistic on price. Check out what's been selling in your neighborhood, see the trends, see how many active listings there are in your specific pocket, and kind of go from there. And if you want to sell a little bit faster, it's always better to, be competitive in terms of price. So you don't want to be the highest priced home on a street when you could see that those other properties have been sitting on the market for months. Which leads me to my next statistic, and this is average days on market, because the average days on market in Toronto went up 25% from July of 2025, sorry, from July of 2024 to July of 2025. So now the average days on market is 30 days. Okay. So this is another situation. People are taking a bit more time to search for the properties that they want to buy. And a lot of the sellers who have been on the market for a while are still not bringing down the price as much as they probably should. So let's get into the sales and average price by major home type, starting in the detached market. So the average price of a detached home in the 416 in July of 2025 is 1,572,000, which is actually down 4.6% year over year, but the sales volume is up 12.5% year over year. So it's exactly what I was saying before. Sellers of detached properties we're kind of seeing like, okay, this property's sitting on the market for a month, 3 weeks, whatever the case may be. It's obviously a little bit overpriced. Let's bring down the price and it'll sell. So that's literally what's been happening. 12.5% up in terms of sales volume from July of 2024 to July of 2025, but the price has come down 4.6%. So sellers are being a bit more realistic with their prices. Again, some sellers, not all sellers, but some sellers are being a bit more realistic, and that's why we've seen the sales numbers go up 12.5% in the detached market. So this is a wild stat. The average price of a semi-detached home in the 416 in July of 2025 is $1,242,000, which is only down 1.1% year over year. But the sales volume went up drastically by 48.2% year over year. And you guys have heard me say this before if you've watched any of my videos. Once the new rule was implemented where you could borrow up to $1.5 million with less than 20% down, that was implemented in December of 2024. I feel like a lot of people started reaching over that $1 million mark, because before December of 2024, you could only buy a property worth more than $1 million if you had 20% down. Now that went up to $1.5 million. So I feel like the semi-detached market went up fairly drastically over the last like 6 months or so. That $1.242 million mark is obviously not at the 1.5. It's not at the million. So a lot more people are opting to go for those semi-detached properties as opposed to, staying within the townhouse sector, which is a little bit, under $1 million right now. Townhouses. The average townhouse in Toronto in July of 2025 is $920,000, which is actually down 5.2% year over year. And the sales volume is up 12.7%. So you're seeing a trend in this market that's people are lowering their prices and there's significantly more sales volume. And that's, throughout all of these major home types, detached, semi-detached, townhouses. Average townhouse, $920,000, down 5.2% year over year. But the volume is up 12.7%. Now, in my opinion, the most interesting stat of this entire report is in the condo market. So you ready for this one? The average price of a Toronto condo in the 416 in July of 2025 is $684,000, which is actually down 8.6% year over year, with the sales volume being up 3.4%. Okay? Do you guys take in that stat? The condo market, the average price of a condo is down 8.6% year over year from July of last year to July of this year. And if you've watched any of these market reports that I've done over the last like 3-4 months, I've always been saying that the condo numbers haven't actually caught up to what's happening in the condo market. And the reason for that is because we had so many condos on the market, still do, that just weren't selling, with the prices not coming down, with people not purchasing them. So we didn't have any actual statistics, right, to back anything up. So I was saying, the condo market is in shambles. The prices are going to come down drastically, but the average price wasn't coming down. And the reason it wasn't coming down was because nobody was buying condos, right? So we didn't actually see those price drops. But now it seems like there's a little bit more movement in the condo market. So 3.4% more sales year over year. And you can clearly see that the average price came down drastically, 8.6% year over year. And just as a side note, I'll mention the 905 here because it's even more drastic in the 905, but their sales are way up. So in the 905, the average price of a condo is $590,000, which is down 10.3% year over year from July of 2024 to July of 2025. But here's the most interesting number about the 905 is that their sales volume is up 10.7% year over year. So in the 905, prices are down 10%, prices are down drastically, but significantly more sales are happening. People are just buying way more condos than the 905 right now and getting really good deals on them. So the 416 saw an 8.6% price drop, the 905 saw a 10.3% price drop. And by the way, if you're thinking about buying a condo right now, honestly, it's actually a really good time to start looking. And that's the first time I've really said that over the last couple of years. It seems like prices are coming down. It seems like condos are starting to sell. I've seen multiple offers on different condo properties over the last like 3, 4 months. A lot of condo properties are priced very aggressively. So people will price them at like, 480, 490, and then, set an offer date situation. And usually they get multiple offers and it sells somewhere like whatever, mid fives. I'm just using that as an example. But right now is a really good time to look for a condo. I actually pulled up the stat right now in W1, W2, and CO1. So in the city of Toronto, say the West End, starting from like, Bloor West Village, High Park, all the way to like to University, taking in Trinity Bellwoods, some of the annex down there, Queen West, King West, all of those neighborhoods, Liberty Village. There are 428 one-bedroom condos that have parking with more than 550 square feet. Okay. 428 active condo listings with parking. Some have a locker, some don't, that are under the 500, sorry, that are available right now in the city of Toronto. And 20 of those units are under $500,000. So right now you can get an extremely good price on a condo. And if you think about it, like say you buy a property for, even in the high fours, low fives, and you get a decent interest rate, what's going to happen is if you're already spending 25 to say $2,900 in rent per month, what'll happen is you might as well pay that as a mortgage if you have a down payment, right? Like your mortgage payment along with your maintenance fees, your taxes, your utilities will be probably close to 28 to $3,000 if you're buying one of these condos at such a low price point. So I don't know if I was starting to look for a condo, I would certainly start actually seeing places in person right now. And then personally, I actually just listed a condo property at 20 Goth. It's a nice unit, 20 Gothic Avenue, unit 414. It's a nice 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom unit. You have a view of High Park, very beautiful unit. I've already had 7 or 8 showings booked within the first day of listing it. So that just goes to show you that places are moving and they're getting interest. And another thing that I'll mention that is if you are looking for a condo property or thinking about buying one, definitely get something that has a unique sort of resale feature. So the condo 20 Gothic, for example, has the High Park view. You have the 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, city view as well, walkable to everything. Look for a condo that has 2 bathrooms if it's a 1 bedroom unit. 2 bathrooms in a condo is significantly underrated. People love 2 bathrooms in a condo. Make sure it has a nice view. Make sure the building has great amenities, things like that. And if you're thinking about buying a condo, give me a call, send me a message. Obviously, I'll help you every step of the way. And before I go, I just wanted to give you a couple of quotes that I found interesting from this report. This first one is from the Toronto Real Estate Board president. So she says, improved affordability brought by lower home prices and borrowing costs is starting to translate into increased home sales. More relief is required, particularly when borrowing costs are concerned, but it's clear that a growing number of households are finding affordable options for ownership. So again, a lot of that, you can look at the condo market. You could get a great condo property right now in the city of Toronto for a low price, honestly. Another quote Recent data suggests that the Canadian economy is treading water in the face of trade uncertainty with the United States. A key way to mitigate the impact of trade uncertainty is to promote growth in the domestic economy. The housing sector can be a catalyst for growth, with most spin-off expenditures accruing to regional economies. Further interest rate cuts would spur home sales and see more spin-off expenditures, um, positively impacting the economy and job growth. So that was the Chief Information Officer, Jason Mercer. It's really tough to say what's going to happen in the market. I just know that our team is listing like 25 properties in September, October. There's a lot of interest in the listings that I've had over the last little while. And it seems like there is going to be significantly more activity in September and October. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this report. I apologize. I was a bit all over the place. It was the first one I've done in a while. I'll try to get back into it more often. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.